Ottawa and Canada in general, here for another discussion on the implications of Trump's invasion of Venezuela. What's the implications for Canada specifically? Before us, we have the book, Gar Parties, The Scary World of Nuclear Weapons, Agenda for Elimination. He wrote this book a few years ago, but his book was prophetic because it has tremendous insights on what's going on now, and the world has become a much more destabilizing place, destabilizing environment since this book was in fact written by Gar Party before the Trump regime took office. So where does that leave Canada as far as the invasion of Venezuela? Well, the first thing we learned just after the invasion of Venezuela is that Trump admitted what the experts were saying before, that the invasion of Venezuela, the whole drugs thing, was a complete smokescreen. In fact, Trump apparently recently pardoned a drug lord from Honduras. So we know that drugs is not a pretext, not a reason that the experts said that before that the Venezuela negligible drugs are coming in, and lo and behold, Trump admits, well, it's all about resources and oil. So the implications for Canada is that Trump has shown in his doctrine, the extension of the Monroe Doctrine, the Trump doctrine, that you can invade a country simply because you have the power and you want resources of another country. So Canada, being, and Venezuela has apparently the largest oil reserves in the world, even larger than Saudi Arabia. So it's all about greed. It's all about predatory self-aggrandizement for Trump and his cronies. So what does that leave Canada? Well, Canada has plenty of resources, and Canada is part of the Western Hemisphere. And if Trump's going to exert the Monroe Doctrine, well, then we as Canadians should be naive to think that we are exempt from the Monroe Doctrine. The whole idea that the whole of the Western Hemisphere, North America and South America, including Latin America, is all should be under the colonial domination of the United States and elite interests in particular. We would be naive as Canadians to think that we are excluded and that we are not potentially in the eye of Trump's potential moves down the road either in the near term, short-term future, or medium-term future for such an invasion. He's already expressed that, invading Greenland. And if he invaded Greenland, then Canada would be just around the corner because he would seize control of the north between Alaska and Greenland and completely, effectively annex Canada. So what do we do as Canadians? Well, what does any country do that are now seeing this new doctrine? I mean, after World War II, the doctrine was that the United States would become, as a superpower, would secure the post-World War II environment and lead to an environment of peace and security based upon democracy and the rule of law. Well, Trump is throwing that out, and now the new doctrine is we're going to divide up the world according to authoritarian regimes. One is the aspiring authoritarian regime of the United States under Trump, and the China and Russia. We're going to split up the world, and any countries don't like it, well, too bad for them. And this is just going to creating a completely destabilizing environment as Trump threatens his allies, Europeans, and Europeans are now facing the specter of Russian aggression. That if Trump gets North and South America and Latin America, maybe Russia gets its specter of not only Eastern Europe back and through an invasion, but the whole of Europe. Why not? And China gets the whole of the Far East. This is an Orwellian Brave New World scenario we as Canadians cannot afford, nor the rest of the world. So the implications for Canada is that, and the message is that any country which has resources, like Canada, like Venezuela, we cannot rely on the former United States government type of approach where the United States is going to guarantee everybody security and the world, and we're going to have a stable world. We're not going to have any more world wars. We're going to no more wars, security for everybody, and that the United States was going to check the authoritarian regimes to make sure that they weren't going to be the trouble they make for the world was going to be as low as possible. We are not in that environment anymore, apparently, according to Trump. We're in an environment where the United States is just going to start picking off countries one by one so that they can acquire resources for themselves. And Canada has plenty of resources. Again, we as Canadians would have been naive to think that we're not in the potential military conquest agenda, and that the Trump's already just open talk about Greenland is part of that spectrum. Let's invade in Greenland, and then let's take over Canadian North, let's squeeze Canada. It's completely naive to think that, Trump has been quite open what he plans to do, so it's no secret. So we have to start taking this seriously. So in order to protect ourselves, there's the option of, yes, let's buy the Saab Gripens. That's a wise option in my view, based upon my international relations experience. Yes, let's buy the Saab Gripen. But that's going to take 3 years, which we can't wait, Canadians, 3 years for this plane to finally start building. Trump is not going to wait 3 years. So we cannot wait. And the Saab Gripen is a good thing for us to acquire, but definitely we don't want the F-35s. That's a done deal for Canadian sovereignty. We acquire the F-35s. Saab Gripen is a step in the medium-term direction of guaranteeing Canadian security, but we can't rely on that. Any country that needs to protect itself, sure. Canada has announced, step back a bit, 300,000 citizen soldiers. That's going to take a while to build up. It's possible. World War II, we went from having a negligible army and a negligible navy to a sizable army, which included over 400 vessels. By the end of World War II, we had the third largest navy in the world, behind Britain and the United States. So we can build up over time, but Trump's not going to wait till a military build up. So the secondary option is we need to work with friendly countries, work with, take better leadership in the Commonwealth, try to get troops here quickly from Commonwealth countries, Australia, Africa, and friendly countries that, Sweden, in my view, if they want us to build a Saab Gripen, they need to help guarantee our security as well. So we need Swedish troops, any troops that we can work with that are going to oppose the Trump takeover of Canada simply for acquiring resources and saying, oh yeah, we're going to invade Canada. So all this fentanyl is coming in, which is complete rubbish. Trump just, this is what Hitler used to do. Contrive some reason to invade a country. The big lie, he used to be called in the Nazi regime, a lie so big that nobody would believe it. But now people aren't believing it. But, the big lies, Trump doesn't even need a big lie. He can have a little lie and just invade a country, and that's how bold he's becoming. So what's the option we have? We have to quickly consolidate a conventional force. We can't wait on 300,000 citizen soldiers. We need soldiers as quickly as possible, but maybe that's not going to be sufficient. So Canada, the world cannot survive three authoritarian regimes, because eventually they're going to be going after each other as they completely. The problem with authoritarian regimes is that you can't have any stability with them. What authoritarian regimes do is that they simply exploit everywhere, and then there's only a tentative peace. But once they've completely exploited and destroyed the countries that they have declared a sphere of influence, well, eventually they're going to start going after each other, because they're going to destroy. Look at what China's doing. They're polluting the place, destroying the whole environment. When they destroy the environment, then they start turning to each other to try to wage war. And eventually you're going to have a world war with just three authoritarian regimes, because they're going to run out of resources, and they're going to start to eye each other's resources, and they're going to go head to head. And then there's going to be some complete, they're going to go, is going to be, one of them is going to eventually think that, oh, well, I'm going to win one. Maybe I can win my nuclear war against the other guy. So eventually we're going to have a world war sooner than later with these authoritarian regimes in place. They're going to go after each other eventually. So there's no stability with authoritarian regimes. So Canada needs to do two things. First of all, any country that wants to protect itself from Trump cannot, needs to, according to the new Trump doctrine, you can invade just because of resources, has to start thinking, Canadians in particular, about acquiring nuclear weapons. Now, Canada, since Pearson, we've declared we're not going to have nuclear weapons, and in my view, no country should have nuclear weapons. But if we're going to protect ourselves from being invaded, simply because of our resources, unfortunately, you see that if the choice is between being invaded and having our completely Canada being taken over, and the world eventually, sooner than later, all turning into dust from nuclear warfare because of authoritarian regimes wanting to conquer each other. Um, Nuclear weapons. This whole post World War II view of no nuclear weapons and denuclearization cannot survive the Trump regimes wanting to conquer everybody that has resources. So nuclear weapons need to be back on the table for political discussion to protect ourselves from being another Venezuela. And while we have nuclear weapons in place, then that will give us the potential shield to start to quickly boosting our conventional war capability and quickly boosting our, infrastructure as far as planes, jet aircraft like the Saab Gripen. So the Saab Gripen is a medium-term option that we need to pursue, but medium term cannot protect ourselves against the Trump's, approach. So nuclear weapons need to be. We need to, as Canadians, think of a short-term solution that's going to guarantee our sovereignty, and it looks like nuclear weapons might be the only way to protect ourselves from being subject to timely invasion. Trump's already appointed the so-called Greenland envoy. He's already said he wants to take over Greenland by potential military force. We as Canadians cannot wait for that. Greenland falls, we fall shortly after. So Canadians need to start, thinking critically. I don't want nuclear weapons. Most Canadians don't want nuclear weapons. I don't think nuclear weapons should be anywhere. But the choice between us protecting ourselves from Trump takeover and a timely nuclear war because of the world falling into three authoritarian regimes. In my view, Canada needs to step in the shoes of being that security, that new military power that the world needs to rely on. We don't have the United States anymore. The world cannot survive a strong leadership of a country which is going to advocate for peace in the world, that's going to champion democracy, going to champion values, going to champion a just society for all. Canadians have at least a value system. I mean, Canadians have had a lot of problems, don't get me wrong, lots of problems with oppressing Indigenous people, visible minorities, racism, poverty growing. But we as Canadians need to seize control of the moment. We need to strongly put together a leadership inspired by the vision of Tommy Douglas and champion a just society for all. We need to step in the shoes of a world power. We need to assert ourselves militarily and step in the shoes formerly occupied by the United States in order to assure the world that we're not going to be having anytime soon more, Venezuela's, more nuclear, more another world war. We need to step on our shoes and become and see ourselves as becoming the new leader in the world, and a leader that's going to champion and defend ourselves and is going to begin to defend other countries who needs a country externally to rely on to protect the world from degenerating into chaos. And if we as Canadians just sit around looking around and not doing anything, we are going to run the risk of Trump moving into Greenland, taking over Canada, no more Canada, no more Greenland, and no more world, as the world quickly will degenerate into a new world war as China and Russia and the United States eventually go up each other and start to destroy the whole place because of their predatory consciousness. So that's my take. What do you think? Thanks for watching another edition. And remember, to our goal in the next couple of weeks to get 1,000 subscribers. You can help our goal by becoming a subscriber and making your comments below and encouraging us. If you have any comments you want to make about what we should be talking about or any comments about this video presentation, please do so. Thanks for watching another edition of the Auto Mark.